In this video, we're going to talk about a very specific technique of learning that'll help you learn to code faster and prevent you from forgetting for good. Hello my coding friends, I'm John Hayes and welcome to Coding Nuggets. So what is this specific technique that we're going to be talking about today? Well, this technique is called the Feynman technique, but I've got a little twist that I put on it that I do for myself. So it's a little bit different, but it's more like a modified version of the Feynman technique. So the original Feynman technique is basically a four-step process. And those four steps are: step number 1, choose a concept. Step number 2, teach a toddler. Step number 3, identify gaps. And step number 4, review and simplify. So the first thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to pick a language or a specific area within a language of what you actually want to learn. So once you've done that, decide on how you're going to go about learning. Are you going to learn through tutorials? Are you going to take a course? Maybe you're going to read an article, or maybe you're just going to look at the documentation and try to learn from that. If you're more the type of person that likes to read and learn things, then I would recommend going to Free Code Camp or going to Codecademy. Both of these resources are very good for learning how to code. If you're into videos and you learn better that way, check out some tutorials on YouTube. There's many tutorials by many different people, and you can find somebody that fits your style. You can also look at Udemy courses. Those are very popular, and that's how I learn a lot of what I do learn. Another excellent resource for learning through videos is through Front-End Masters. They have very specific curriculums that you can follow. You just go and you pick a path and you follow through on each video that you should watch in sequence. Now, this is a paid resource, so you can use it if you want to go that route. If not, then you can look into the other alternatives that I mentioned previously. One of the big things you want to take advantage of is free trials. You can learn so much by using free trials and get the basic foundation of any language that you're trying to learn. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, so that way you'll get notified anytime I put a new video on the channel. I want to cover one major note before we proceed to my version of the Feynman technique, and that is that you do not want to get caught in tutorial purgatory. And so what I mean by that? Basically, when we're trying to learn something, whether it's through a tutorial or through a course or through reading an article or whatever it might be, you'll notice that there's reoccurring things that'll come up. If you're learning a specific language, for instance, you'll notice that maybe something within that language keeps repeating itself on every article you read. A lot of people get in this habit to where they begin reading different articles on one topic, and that's fine. But the issue that you run into is you get into the habit of doing that over and over and over. So it's the same way with tutorials or courses or whatever it might be. You start watching a course, you learn some things. When you get done, you say, okay, I want to learn more. Then you find another course and you move on. The issue is that you never really learn what you learned. That's why you're moving on. So that's why today we're going to cover this specific technique, or this modified Feynman technique, on how you can actually learn and make things stick and you can retain them for good. So let's start learning. So the first step in my process is to observe. And what I'll do is, after I've picked the course or picked the tutorial that I want to watch, I'll watch the first video within that course, or if I'm watching a tutorial, I'll watch the tutorial and watch it completely through, all the way to the end. Only one video from a course or only one tutorial from beginning to end. During this process of observing, make sure that you don't take any notes, make sure that you don't code along, make sure you don't do anything other than watch and observe. So one thing I want you to think about is how children learn. Children learn by observing their world in the very beginning of their life. And they do this for at least the first 1 or 2 years before they even begin to speak. So it's almost like they're learning through observation. And that's exactly what they're doing. Once a child reaches the age of between 1.5 to 2 years old, then they'll begin to use what they've observed. So they'll begin speaking, they'll begin doing different things. And they do this from very early on, but once they start doing things, they'll start doing them in rapid succession. And that leads me to step number 2, and that is trial and error. So just like a child, they begin applying what they have observed, what they have learned. So in step number 2, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to begin applying what we have observed and try to code these things out ourselves. This will do a few different things. One, it makes you think on your own. What this will do is it'll prevent you from relying on the specific tutorial or course or the article that you're reading. It makes you begin to implement what you've learned so that you're not passively listening and not learning. While you're going through this process of trial and error and identifying the gaps of what you've observed, make sure that you use Google and Stack Overflow for help. If you come across a specific error message, go into Google, put in that specific error message, and look for a Stack Overflow link. A quick trick here is to put quotations around the topic or around the error that you have found, and this will specifically look in Google for that very specific error without doing a random global search. There are also many Discord channels out there that are for coding, and you can go into those and ask questions as well. And the last place you can look is on Reddit. Reddit has subreddits that you can go into, and you can find a subreddit for each specific language out there. If you've exhausted all of these and you cannot make the code work and you cannot figure out what's going on, then go back to the video or go back to whatever you were using, the article, the video, the tutorial, the course, and watch through that video once again, or read through the article once again, and go through step 2 one more time. One caveat here is don't get stuck in step 2. If you can't figure it out after a couple times, move on, come back to it. Moving to step 3, teach others or yourself what you have just learned and how others can do the same if you're teaching others. So a very good thing to use here is self-talk. I recommend speaking out loud rather than speaking internally, because as you speak out loud, you hear yourself and you can reflect on what you're actually hearing. It actually cements things into your subconscious and makes you remember them a lot better. So there's a few different ways that you can teach others. One thing you can do is create a YouTube channel. This is very good because not only are you teaching yourself and you can review that later, you're also helping others along with the process. You can also create courses. So once you've learned something and you've learned it to a point where you can teach it to others, you can actually create a course based around that and then earn some income from it. And a final way that you can actually earn a little bit of money, but also retain things that you've actually learned, is to do one-on-one coaching with people, or even do group coaching and charge for it while you're at it. So one awesome trick that I picked up is to teach others like you would a 5-year-old. By doing this, it simplifies down things and it makes it much easier for others to learn, but it also makes it much easier for you to cement those things that you've learned back into yourself. Step number 4, review what you've learned and build a unique project. I'm a true believer that you really don't start learning until you begin building things on your own without the help from others. So one thing to do for review is just to go back over your notes. If you've done any kind of teaching, take those recordings and review those recordings as well. Another thing is during the review process, go back and look at the code that you wrote. Once you go back and you start going through your code, you'll actually know exactly what you did, and you'll know why you did that, and it'll help things stick a lot better as well. One thing I do want to warn you about is do not build the same project that the instructor has built. It's fine to code along and to build that project, but when you start to build your own unique project, do not take that project and make it the same. Modify that project in some way and give additional functions to that project. You can build something similar, but like I said, make it unique. This will allow you to have projects that are different than the thousands that have already been built through the courses and articles and tutorials and everything else that's been put out there that you're learning from yourself. And in the end, it'll make your projects unique, it'll make you unique, and it'll make you stand out as a developer. Never stop learning, stay up to date, and remember, knowledge is power. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really want to provide you with great value, and I'll see you soon.